Welcome back to Dark Nexus. Tonight, it's Act 3, Chapter 98. We all know what just happened.
We were reminded that we're in a horror campaign.
In the literal dimension of dreams. When you all make your way back to the waking world, you arrive in a scene. I'm going to ask Katie and Robert to get their Stasi and Barnabas sheets out.
Oh dear.
The first roll of Chapter 98 is going to be a fortitude save for Barnabas.
Oh my gosh.
27.
Wow.
Holy shit.
That was a natural 20.
All right, a little less than of a scene than I was expecting.
Sorry.
No, it's good. So, tonight, Stasi and Barnabas' experience, it begins like normal. It begins so peacefully, doesn't it, this ritual? Like, just pass this little thing around. And then feel it. It's a gorgeous set of stairs, and the act of passing it around feels like this communal shared process. There's almost something meditative to it. Of course, it gets more physically strenuous as you go along, and the staircase gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then eventually it culminates in everybody just geysering gouts of blood as they start to spontaneously bleed from the inside. But they've seen this happen once before. They were ready for it. And they've got healing spells on hand, and they did go ahead and get everybody back up to their max hit points. However, as the evening went along, Barnabas found himself growing scattered and inattentive. Stasi would catch him drifting off or wandering away towards a different part of the hold and have to kind of like, hey buddy, remember? Oh yeah, of course. And as the evening progressed further and further, Barnabas started to feel cold. Stasi saw beads of sweat. Oh boy, does a fox sweat? No. So panting then, right? For a kind of a canine? Panting heavily in a way that Barnabas didn't notice at first. But Stasi absolutely.
Well, I mean, I think he might have been, let's say at the start of the ritual, he was in human form.
Okay.
Because when he's around Dora, he tries to be in human form.
Right.
But I could take, like, if once she's asleep.
Yeah.
Especially if I think maybe he reverted back to his kitsune form, but not intentionally.
Oh, yes,
like,
great.
I think the distraction, whatever this distraction is,
yeah,
he transformed back without necessarily intending to.
Got it. And then, about 5 hours in to this, Barnabas seems to... It's one of those situations where it's like Stasi can tell something's going on, but Barnabas is pretty sure there isn't. Is Stasi trained in heal?
No, but she's got very good perception and very good sense motive.
Okay.
So her insight is exceptional.
So I think she'd be aware that he's experiencing something physical, and maybe the character is not as aware of it as player Robert is. Would she be blunt with him and tell him that something's going on?
Of course she would.
Okay.
I think there is something wrong with you.
I don't know what you mean. What are you talking about?
Well, you're panting and
It's very...
keep getting distracted. It's not like you.
Do you not find it a bit stuffy down here?
No, I don't. So it's worrisome if you do.
Give me do you have knowledge religion?
Yes, I do.
I can take it from both of you, but I don't know that Stasi would have exposure to this. Let's just see what you get, Katie, but why don't you, Robert, because of what Barnabas has been through in his past, add 5 to whatever you get.
Okay.
This is not to identify abilities and weaknesses of creatures, yeah?
Correct.
21.
24.
Not enough to know Crunch, but I think we can tell a story here of in Barnabas's day with the cult. We had sort of loosely referenced the idea that people would get far along enough down a path and then they would be sacrificed. And as Stasi calls your attention to what you're feeling and you notice, like, yeah, I do feel weird chills and it's hard for me to hang on to what I'm thinking about for too long. Barnabas remembers that this is typically how it would begin. And that people would grow more and more scattered and lose more and more of their kind of drive to live, drive to exert themselves as a force upon the world. And that it was a very slow progressing transformation, slow progressing illness, disease, but that knowing that this word that came out of Roni and Ray's knowledge about Jamandor, they kept calling this being seeded, and that perhaps there are physical ramifications over time to having the actual seed of a great old one inside your flesh, in your brain tissue. That it may be slowly poisoning you, diseasing you, changing you. Hard to know. You do know that there were the typical way in your cult to deal with it is murder and sacrifice. But you know, in your own experience, that your connection to Jamandor, after enough time with enough drugs and enough disassociation from reality, that you were able to really successfully dull whatever was happening with you for a long period of time. But that maybe now, a month out from no drugs, no magic, living in full knowledge of what's happening to you and what you're connected to, the process might be beginning anew with you.
Does it feel like a further progression than when I first sought out the drugs and oblivion of Briarstone?
It does. I'm going to take a little nod from how high you nailed that fortitude check, that maybe Barnabas has proven unusually, kind of shockingly from a DM perspective, resilient to what's going on. But he may have just been very lucky.
Mm-hmm. Kept making good saves.
Yeah. I think maybe that's the story of Barnabas. Was certainly aware that there was a progression to fear, saw it in those around him, maybe got out before he failed enough saves or something mechanically to that effect. But he got out before he ever got to a point that he experienced with other people. And to be clear, you did make your save. Mm-hmm. So what you're experiencing today is kind of the supernatural equivalent of almost catching a cold, having kind of a day of, you just feel a little gacky in the throat, a little sort of under the weather, but you do fight it off. You feel yourself fighting it off.
So I would, based on the questions she asked me, I would recognize what she is witnessing as what it is.
Yeah, I want to give you something for those rolls with we're both good, but neither was a 25, so you don't have much crunch, but yeah, I think you're connecting these dots here.
Yes, well, I'm sure it will pass soon. I will feel better. I'm just getting sea legs under me,
Right. Sure.
That was a 17 bluff check, by the way.
That 17 is my sense motive modifier.
Oh.
You have something you want to talk about? Or people say I am a good listener.
No, I have heard this about you, but there are things I cannot tell you just yet. There are things that have happened to me that I cannot share with you for your own protection. It is in your nature to not trust those who are trying to tell you things. I understand this about your profession. But that is all I can tell you at this exact moment. And I ask that you believe that I am only trying to protect those around me.
I understand. She starts rolling a cigarette.
About an hour later, the horror show begins, where one by one, these 4 people that you are guarding over begin screaming in their sleep and vomiting up massive amounts of blood. They're bleeding out their mouths, out their ears, out their eyes. All of them taking the, whatever, 18 to 40 some points of damage you all willingly took on yourselves.
Who wakes up first?
Vic.
We were fighting an ooze. Is everyone back?
He's like looking around.
All dead asleep.
You need healing. Vic,
Get ready. They're gonna need help.
I think you should start let's see if we even have enough healing to solve this fucking situation.
Because what would we have needed to cast to bring people back up to full?
Since I hand waved it, let's be gentle and say 1 cure light wounds total for each, so that can
Well,
be.
I have mods. I don't have lights.
Okay. And you have.
I have lights, but because I'm not a full caster, I have not a ton of spell slots. But I've got 2 cure mods and I've got 5 cure lights.
So you've spent 4 cure lights.
And I can cast up to 3 cure mods a day.
All right. You want to start with a mod on Vic here?
Yes.
Roll it up. Let us know when to stop, Johnny, or when you tell them to stop.
12.
I'm still bloodied. I'm not even
Still
halfway.
bloodied.
I'll do one.
Okay. You'll have help from Dabs whenever, if Dabs wakes up.
11.
I mean, that's I would say at that point, that's 33 out of 51, I'd probably say.
Yeah, well, it's just they might need it.
Dora's next. How badly is she hurt?
She's at 23 out of 41. But I think she saw what happened to Dabwick and to Grip.
Yeah.
And I think she would say, I'm okay.
Okay.
I could try to do a heal check on Dora. I could take the time to do like a treat serious wounds on her.
If you want.
And didn't we discover that that's like an hour or 8 hours?
It's an hour, but I mean, it's something that I could be doing because we don't know how long is it that people are coming back.
Over the course of the next 2 hours, so great, go for it.
No reason not to.
Yeah, so what does it allow you to do?
When treating deadly wounds, you can restore hit points to a damaged creature. Treating deadly wounds restores 1 hit point per level of the creature. If you exceed the DC by 5 or more, add your wisdom modifier. A creature can only benefit from its deadly wounds being treated within 24 hours of being injured and never more than once per day. You must expend 2 uses from a healer's kit to perform this task. And then
Your special thing is...
my special thing is the target recovers hit point and ability damage as if it had rested for a full day. So that is
2 hit points per level. Do you have to make the DC? What is the DC for treat deadly wounds?
20.
All right, give me your check.
I did not make it, but I am going to add a point of inspiration. So I'm using my healer's kit and surgeon's tools. That brings me to an 18, and I just rolled a 2, so I hit the 20.
Okay, so then Dora gets back at this. So 14 hit points, but you don't get to add Vic's wisdom because he didn't
Correct.
clear it by 5.
It's all but 4 of what I lost.
Just as you're nearing the end of that process of tending to Dora, Grip is the next one to wake up.
Does he wake up vomiting vomit in addition to blood?
Oh, God. Yeah, like...
Does the sickened condition follow him?
No, but the memory of it does. So, like, there's this lingering, retching, stomach-churning sense
And
of
the power of
disorientation.
suggestion when it comes to
Yes.
nausea is very strong.
Yes. So Grip is just a terrible mess. Terrible mess. How many hit points are you down?
He's at 50 of 78, so honestly,
Hold tight for the
let's
second.
let's see how Dabs is doing when they come back.
And then shortly thereafter, Dabwick comes to.
Dabwick failed their first attempt to come back after taking 10 points of damage, and then had to try again, taking another 16 points of damage. So Dabwick comes back just below bloodied.
All right. Stasi will cast.
And also, so Grip wakes up, and then you all, rush over to tend to Grip, and then you see Dabwick just holler out in pain and agony and just bleeding and vomiting up blood, and then
And then
slumps
not wake
back to
up.
sleep and doesn't wake up for another half hour.
I would start to work on
Yeah,
Dabwick.
Stasi will
Done and done.
give Dabwick a cure mod.
If you're going to do that, then
Yeah.
then I wouldn't. Whoever
I
wants to do
just
it.
did 18.
Okay.
Great.
This is what they're for.
All right.
So then even though it was 6 seconds later in the dream, it's like a half hour later that Dabs actually does finally wake up,
Stasi has
taking more
one
and more
cure
damage.
light left.
I still have 3 cure mods, so why don't I
maybe
give you
Grip,
another? Why don't I give Dabs another one of those?
And how far down is Grip?
So that's 17 for you.
Okay, Dab's back.
So Grip's down 28.
I would start working on Grip then.
Perfect.
I've got another cure light too.
Oh, you would get 14. You would get 16 hit points back.
Oh, nice. After an hour of tending.
That's a 29.
Nice.
Who's still down?
Is everybody within 7 of their max at this point?
Yeah.
I'm within.
Oh, but hang on. You won't sleep because this was your sleep period.
Right.
Right. I forgot about that.
No, I'm down 12 from my maximum.
Yeah, here.
There will be no resting overnight.
I don't think they can go every day if Barnabas and Stasi are, if they're dependent upon them.
It's interesting. Yeah. One more set of resources to manage
That's
here.
9 from Stasi.
All right, so everybody knows where they're at. Everybody's a little hurt, but fine to stop.
Yes.
All right. What's this conversation? As you all sit down there in the blood and vomit that you've spewed all over the place.
Are we just talking the 4 of us? Like, would we separate ourselves from everyone else?
That makes sense to me because the 2 of you have now been up all night and need to actually
yeah,
get
we
some
need to
sleep.
get
Barnabas would try to find a way to, outside of Stasi's earshot.
She can pick up what you're laying down. If you need to be alone with him, I think she's someone you can just say that to.
Then so
Yeah.
Barnabas would just ask for.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so Stasi clears, so we have Vic, Dabs, Dora, Grip, and Barnabas below decks right now.
I just want to let the 4 of you know, while you were gone, Stasi picked up on some behavior of mine that perhaps might indicate the guest we have in our head might be progressing with me a little more. And I only say this, I feel like I have...
What do you mean? Did you say something?
No, I did not say anything, but I apparently I have been a bit distracted during this time. I have been a bit scattered in my head, and this is how members of my former cult would start to show signs that it was progressing, and I was able to shunt it aside with drugs and so forth for so long. But now that I have not been taking them, I don't know, Perhaps it is starting again. I was panting. I had the chills. I say this not so much for my own well-being, but questions are being asked, is all I am saying. And I was as forthright with her as I could be. I know that she is inquisitive by nature, but I played upon, hopefully, the trust she has in us and in me to believe that I am being withholding for the sake of protection, and she at least made a show of accepting that answer. But I wanted you all to be aware.
Thank you.
Can I do any kind of like heal check on him to see if there's anything physically going on with him?
Yes, and I can take a knowledge religion check too.
Religion 18. Heal is going to be a 22.
Physically, you know he's fighting something. He's got a disease. He's at the moment either dormant or maybe on a progression to fighting it off. He's not suffering any physical effects from it right now, but you're seeing the telltale signs of a carrier of something that is definitely affecting his body physiologically now, in addition to the psychophysical reality that you know you're all dealing with.
Does it seem like the sort of thing where I would actually be able to remove the disease, or does it seem like it's connected to, did the seed in his head weaken his body to the point where he now has a regular treatable disease, or is this the seed in his head? Does that make sense?
It does, and I think because of your knowledge check, you don't know for sure either way if it's treatable, but I think with all the knowledge that's going on, all the things that Dora has read in the past, this thing that's happening to his body is definitely caused by the seed. But you know, as you with your heal skill check it, you're like, these are physical symptoms I could attempt to treat.
I would attempt to treat them then. All right, so
Don't even bother right now, Johnny. What that will mean is we can now assume that Vic is tending to Barnabas in the long term, and when the time comes that he has to make a save next, then we'll make you roll that check, and you can add that bonus if you succeed.
okay.
Nothing to roll right now. Cool. So if you ever decide to stop tending to him, let me know. But otherwise, we'll just assume that part of your daily routine now is checking in with him, seeing if you see signs of progression, and at such a point that you do, you will attempt to make your check, which will give him a bonus on his check to overcome it.
Okay.
Why are there so many checks?
So many checks.
Barnabas, so you know that we're all infected with the same seed. When we were in the Dreamlands, that seed was removed from us, but the cost was high. Along with the seed, everything that made us us was taken away. Our memories, our experiences, our very selves were sacrificed to the mad poet. Now, I don't know that it would work again, but it might work for you. It would mean you would forget everything. You would start over a blank slate.
This does not seem to have been that much of a benefit to you.
True, but it was also done to us unwillingly. If you were able to leave a message for yourself, or even just be surrounded by people that knew what happened and that you had chosen this, it might be different for you. I don't know, and it's certainly nothing that you need to decide, but think about it.
For now, we'll put that on the maybe pile, I think.
Fair enough.
At this rate, we're not getting to Neruzabin for like 600 years, so I don't think you have to decide right now.
But it is at least right now one of the only known ways
Yeah.
to
rid ourselves
of.
Yeah, because everything you know seems to be only temporary when it comes to the drugs and the magic and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. This has been pretty close to a conversation, Katie, you've mentioned that Dora might be interested in bringing up at some point. Does this sort of satisfy the beginnings of it?
A conversation that we have to have at some point.
Is now the time to bring it up?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, and literally because of what I just joked about, we're so fucking far from finding the mad poet that I'm not sure talking in those terms is beneficial at this point. She's like all I need is one piece of information to launch, I just need the right piece of information. We have made it 20 fucking feet into the caravanserai, and we've found nothing but death and horror and put down 2 things only to stumble into a third thing that was
so much worse
that we have no way of dealing with.
Yeah.
So while she is keen to have that conversation in the moment after we all just woke up, after barely escaping with our lives, I'm not sure she's in a mental state for that conversation.
And what we've been talking to Barnabas, but what's Grip's takeaway from that shit show?
Well, I don't understand. I don't even understand what the fuck we can do there. He's terrified of being faced with a thing that he can't even dent.
Yeah.
Melisande was terrifying. The blubbery guy,
The keeper.
the keeper, drained so much strength and life out of him, made him totally ineffectual. This goes so far beyond that.
Yeah, we won all those fights.
We won, and I mean, even with him, you won those fights with him being rendered sort of ineffectual. Like that in the last fight, he was. I mean, all the old school effects were on him, right?
Old person, everything.
Old person, all of that.
Yeah.
And we still came out on top. And now this is a thing that he's looking at that he can't even hurt a little bit that would last beyond 6 seconds. So he's like, I don't know what the fuck we're hoping to accomplish by going back to that caravanserai. But I'm shook.
What about our buddy Dabs?
I think when Dabs woke up, ever since Dabs woke up, they've had wet eyes. It's like teary, observing everyone and feeling, is it necessary for us to kill everything we come across? Could we... Oh my gosh. How are we supposed to navigate our way? And we're searching for more books?
We don't know what we don't know.
I realized we were being careful before. I don't know how we could be any more careful than we can.
I got a couple ideas.
Well, I don't.
And it's time to go to work, Dabs.
I gotta go.
Dabos got first shift. There's some altar winds to be cast. There's some meeting with Skywind to be done. None of the rest of you have to be anywhere particular in this chunk of time if the three of you want to continue talking, or if we're just in a daze of what the fuck just happened to me. That is also totally understandable.
Vic is processing this as... Vic's reaction to when something hits him is to hit it back harder, is to figure out a way to come back at it and demolish it. Mm-hmm. And so he right now is thinking, how do we either avoid or evade or trap and destroy this thing and move on? Because we're not going to not go back to the caravanserai. Because if we're not going to go back to the caravanserai, then I should, put some rocks in my pocket and walk off this boat right now. And I'm not doing that. So if I go down, I'll go down swinging, but I'm not giving up.
Yeah.
That's where he is right now in his head. And he doesn't have all the answers, but he's not. It's I'm going to dig down, I'm going to grind, I'm going to figure out a way to get the answers that we need.
Absolutely.
Because I'm not going to let that fuck win.
That wormy little fuck.
That's right. You want to let Lols win?
Fuck no, I don't want to let Lols win.
How about you, Dora?
I don't care about winning. I care about him not succeeding. And there are key pieces of information that we need in order to prevent that from happening, and they are only at the caravanserai. There is no other way.
Agreed.
I'm all for not fucking fighting and killing everything if those are the things that we're going to be facing.
Wait a minute. Come here.
You feel all right?
I reach over and put my hand on your head.
All right, all
Open
right.
your eyes.
So, are we going back tonight?
No.
No, we got to think about
We
things a little
can't.
bit.
We literally can't because we don't have any other healing while we're out tonight because Barnabas and Stasi
Barnaby
used up all their
MD.
stuff and aren't going to get to replenish before
Yeah, they won't. By the next night, they will have all their spells back.
because they're going to sleep all day.
Because they sleep all day. Yeah, they're moving. Their entire day now has shifted to.
Okay, they're on
They're on third
opposite
watch,
schedule.
basically.
What do we want to try to do there? We're trying to find.
If there is any piece of information that Lowell's left behind about gifts for the mad poet, how to find the mad poet,
Right.
and sacrifices to be made for the mad poet, we have to find it. Otherwise, we could wander around the Dreamlands for the rest of our lives and never find anything.
So really,
So
we've got to go
hopefully
upstairs from that
We've
office.
got to go upstairs and see what's there, unless there are other places.
There's one room you'd have to pass through to get to those stairs, unless you wanted to go upstairs by the outside by climbing up the
Which
rubble.
I think we might have to try to do that.
Because now that thing's running around the hallways.
So
Maybe.
let's all imagine ourselves with grappling hooks and rope when we get there. And not for nothing, but we should be experimenting with things like that. Every opportunity we go in, we should leave knowing more about how it operates. We have to be mindful about that and purposeful. I don't want to go anywhere near that room, provided it's still there, of which there is no guarantee. But this is an opportunity to learn about how and whether that place resets every time we approach it. It could be that every time we go there, thousands of years have passed in the interim. We don't know.
But this last time, our footprints were still there.
Well, then that's good information.
And that
We should
one,
have looked at those footprints, studied them, and people who are good at that sort of thing might have been able to tell how much time had passed since the last time we were through there.
And we didn't see that fucking thing what killed Dabwick the first time.
This time through? Yeah, no sign of it. You have no reason to believe that it respawned.
Right.
I've got some new things that I want to be working on.
What do you work on today?
I want to work on crafting some things,
Okay,
some alchemical things.
great.
And this is not something that you and I have actually figured out all the mechanics for.
Mm-hmm.
But I was looking to see if there's anything to help with concentration. And I found two things. Mage's Assistant. For 1 hour after drinking this tincture, you gain a +5 alchemical bonus on concentration checks. The increased focus imposes a -2 penalty on perception and sense motive checks for the same duration. The other one is Focus Chew. For up to 1 hour while chewing Focus Chew, you gain a +2 alchemical bonus on concentration checks and a +1 alchemical bonus on intelligence-based skill checks.
Oh, that's cool.
And my thought is, if I can get some of this made up, then we can always take it when we go there. It won't be used up. And then,
So we
Yeah, all
always
you
have
need
it
to
every
do is
time.
just have it on your waking body.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that it would give us a +5 concentration check. So anytime we want to leave, everybody gets a +5 bump to it. So these are the sort of things that Vic is thinking about, okay, if we know that we can bail at any time, we need to have a signal of we go, there's no argument when one of us says go, the next thing we do is
Everybody go.
everybody go. And how do we make that as easy as possible? How do we make it as quick and painless as possible? And as likely to succeed as possible with the least amount of damage to our waking bodies.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
So if we can plan our escape route, and then we can start to plan what we want to do when we go in. But the first thing we need to do is how do we get out easy? So if we need to take time to do some of that stuff, and like have some of these resources available to us, that would be what Vic wants to do.
Okay, I can look at this a little more closely, but you're talking about at least a day to craft one of each of those things.
Absolutely, yeah. Which I'm happy. I mean, that seems like a good use of my time.
Mm-hmm. What y'all think?
So that means 5 more days before we go back.
I don't think we should wait that long.
How long did we wait the last time?
8 days.
I think we should go in with a specific plan. Either climbing up the outside, directly into the spaces we want to search.
I think that's a good idea.
Finding another way in and then agreeing we are only there for a certain amount of time before we leave.
And you start today by making one of them, and then just keep going?
Well, if we're doing that, is it more useful? I can go, blend, move quietly.
You want to go by yourself?
I don't want to go by myself.
Is that what you're suggesting?
If the goal is to go in and get information and then get out,
I don't think that's a good idea. We simply don't know enough about what could find you there. And if for any reason you cannot leave,
We'd have no way
we
of
have
knowing.
no way of knowing. There are too many unknowns.
all right. Then I say we wait till everyone has a better chance of getting back more easily.
What do you think, Dabs?
Dabwick has no problem waiting. Doesn't see any reason that we're in any hurry to go back. Time there doesn't...
There is a reason, though, didn't we? We talked last time about...
It's got to be so unclear to you what exactly you're racing against. You know in the real world that you're like 2 weeks behind Lowell's, but you also, Lowell's may or may not have a druid speeding up your winds. You may be closing that distance. But in terms of what your timeline is in the dimension of dreams, you have no way of knowing, really, because you don't know what you have to get to go to the Mad Poet, or how long it will take there to get to the Mad Poet.
This is an argument in my favor, because there's so much that we don't know. If we lose time getting that information, he just gets closer and closer and closer to Neruzaman. And, like ending the world, or whatever it is he's going to do there.
Is there anything we know about Lowell's?
What kind of spellcraft checks can I make to know about things like locate object, things like that?
Yeah, you're high enough level. You got a high enough check. You can use your meta knowledge.
I'm trying to think.
Locate
even if
object is 500 feet. I can tell you that right now.
Great.
You do have a scryer. If you want to try to scry Lowell's before Dabs preps today, you can
have
certainly do
all
that.
of his books.
We have stuff that would have been particular to him.
100%.
We have people that know him.
You specifically grabbed some hair out of a brush, I recall, in the
Yes.
bedroom. You got
We
a piece
saw
of
a
the body.
painting of him as a child looking terrified.
Yeah.
Because you're right. But also, we don't have to have everything to stop him. And if we know where he is, if we have information about him, then we can be doing something else to catch up with it.
Scrying doesn't affect whether we go tonight or not. It's good
Yeah,
information to
you
have.
can still do both. Yeah.
You can still do both.
So attempt to scry. I'm hearing, seems like everybody's interested in that. I'm seeing around the table. You could spend the day crafting at least one of these things to boost concentration checks. Johnny's interested in Vic possibly doing some scouting ahead. The rest of the group is, I'm hearing,
Not
maybe,
interested in that,
maybe
which
not
is
without
totally
it.
fine.
But
Yeah.
I mean, what about you all go together and
Yeah.
just take more of a roguey route rather than
Yes.
it all walking together down the hallway route? You could certainly attempt that and just have them close enough that if something goes wrong, they could maybe try to intercede. What do we think? Yeah?
I think if something goes wrong, we simply leave.
Okay. During the day, Vic is able to work. Those were both DC 20, right? Is that right?
Yep.
Pick the one you want to do and we'll...
I mean, I'd rather do the one that gives a +5 bonus and a -2 to... Which one is it?
Perception.
Yeah, I think that the +5 alchemical bonus to concentration checks outweighs the -2 perception and sense motive. Does anybody disagree?
I don't.
Great. Give me a check, and I will find out how much I'm hand-waving the time after we're done. But basically, if you hit your DC, then you've got it today. And you can say you had some divine inspiration if I'm wrong about timing here.
That was a natural 20. That's a 37.
Okay, you definitely have one today. And if it turns out you have... Well, we'll find out later. You've definitely got one.
Great.
Put it on your sheet. Put it on your sheet. Dabs.
I hand it to Dabs
So it's in Dabs's equipment. Okay.
because we know that Dabs has already died once.
Dabs must not die.
Dabs must not die.
Dabs must not die.
And then Dabs, before you prep your spells, you want to attempt to scry on Hazardton Pragmus Lowell's the Fourth.
This is called Mage's Assistant. It gives you a +5 alchemical bonus and a -2 on perception and sense motive.
So if I'm going to be honest about my sheet, I did not have scrying prepared.
Oh,
So I
okay.
would
Not
have, I
so
would have
good.
to wait until after
Wait for it
meditation.
till tomorrow. Okay. And we can do it if you
Yeah.
survive the Dreamlands tonight.
Yep.
All right. So after Dabwick works all day, and then Grip works all afternoon, and Vic works all morning, I think this part of never actually sleeping, even though your bodies are technically rested, your brains are not given the opportunity to shut off ever. And you're entering now your second day in a row of this. And it feels at this point maybe like, okay, yeah, this is sustainable. But yes, I wanted that exact response that Paul just gave me, which was a chortle of, oh, fuck.
It reminds me of like trying to follow fish or something for a number of days. You're like, yeah, it's my 8th day on the road. I haven't had a shower. Just another baggie of mushrooms, and I'm ready to go. Everyone got a pizza.
Grip did have a pretty good day at work.
Oh, did you roll it? What'd you get?
19.
Oh my God! Yay! So at least he can take solace in the physical labor, right?
Yes.
And he's working on the knots.
Yes.
So less than 24 hours after you emerge bloody, battered, vomit-covered, and mentally distraught, you go back down the hold as soon as night falls again. And, again, the waking world just feeling a little out of sync today. Like you see all these halflings, and maybe there's even a feeling of every once in a while, like, what is their name? Forgetting who they are, but we gotta, in Vic's case, gotta get working, and in Grip's case, gotta get working on the knots, and Dab's like, gotta cast all these spells, and I gotta, work with Skywind and make sure I'm giving everything that I can. But we gather, the group of 6, back below the deck. Again, the next night after night falls, we sit in our circle, we pass around the staircase. Let's start making some checks, Katie. They're all at +5.
Arcana?
Arcana, yeah.
Natural 20.
Staircase is going around, getting heavier and heavier and heavier. One more Arcana.
35.
It's about the size of a watermelon now. Give me planes.
34.
It's about the size of a canoe oar, getting heavier and heavier and heavier. Knowledge planes.
26.
It's rapidly approaching the size of a door. Last check, planes.
35.
And at the end of the ritual, I think from now on, I have to actually roll everybody's damage, right? Because we got to know how much damage these bodies all have. All right, so Dora's waking body, 5 points of damage. 4 points to Victor's waking body. Dab's waking body. Oh my God, 10. Dabs is having a rough week. Gripper, 8. Stasi, 5. Barnabas, 12 points of damage. Oh, poor Barnabas.
We shouldn't know what our body's damage is.
Oh, that's amazing.
Because
Yes.
because
Yeah,
we
we should,
shouldn't
because
know.
that makes a difference
We
in how
don't know
many
what happened when we
2d6
went.
we take.
We don't know if all of a sudden the ship got attacked. We don't know anything.
Right.
So when we're rolling the dice of going, I'm going to take this many d6.
Yeah.
We shouldn't know.
Perfect.
Another way to kill ourselves.
Yes.
Fantastic.
But
No, I mean,
another way to feel that that fear.
You're
of,
absolutely right.
how much do I want to?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so we descend the stairs. We walk the dead roads. We materialize back in front of the forsaken caravanserai. And what are the things you're experimenting with today as you materialize?
I want to have another thing of that mage's assistant.
It is not there.
Excellent. I am not dressed in a sharp white suit.
Tempting
What are you
fate
dressed in
last
this time?
I am dressed in like the most ninja-esque, dark, something that looks like it will blend into the shadows and blend into the stones and the area that we're going to be in.
The time for peacocking is not now.
Yes.
Does he still look like Vic?
He looks a little bit more like Roni.
He's a little Ronin curious today.
He looks a little bit more like Roni. He looks very serious.
I love it. What about Dabwick?
I think Dabwick takes the opportunity to actually alter self into a catfolk creature and take on some of the deserty sort of tones and qualities in their fur coloring.
I love it. So anthropomorphic cat, like Barnabas is an anthropomorphic fox. Okay, sweet.
The kind of thing that Lowe's is terrified of.
Nice.
Henceforward, I will always be a fucking cat. And what about the Gripper?
Like himself, tattoos totally blocked out again.
Yeah.
Maybe a little thing around his head this time, little deserty scarf, and he has all of his fingers.
He does have all of his fingers. Oh, that's cool.
And he's got a rope and a grappling hook.
He does not have a rope and a grappling hook.
All right.
Dora.
Dora looks the same as the day before. Maybe if she had sort of white linen scarf costumery, it's more neutral, blendable color now. She's experimenting with not being sunburned.
Oh. Success, because as you all materialize, of course, you do remember that, this time, Dora said basically, why would we plan a trip on 6-legged camels through the desert when we can just go buy a teleport scroll? So months of preparation were spent making sure that the location was understood perfectly and you could find like one of these guides who had been there to actually cast the spell. And you all arrive here.
Not so hot and headachy.
Not so hot and headachy. Which is probably good for
That's really interesting.
For the guy wearing ninja robes in the desert.
That's really interesting. So material possessions that we didn't have coming in, we can't do. But as long as there's a way to fund the reason for something else changing, it's possible.
You're definitely finding a pretty hard line with material possessions.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to the way the ritual works. The ritual's gonna, like the things you bring with you that are useful to you are limited to what you have on you. But there seems to be a little bit of flexibility otherwise. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I still haven't decided if Tima's here or not. There's part of Dora that wants to be very clear with Tima that you can't just misbehave and get to go on field trips. But
you're trying to enact some disciplinary lessons.
But also, there's no denying that Tima has information.
Because you lose the make any knowledge check untrained thing if you don't have her right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I had not thought of that before. I'd only thought of the fear thing. The higher DCs and stuff. But so I think she's here. But Dora simply has no intention of letting her out, except under the most dire of circumstances.
Okay. You do materialize after having teleported here in the exact same places you materialized before. And give me a survival check there as Dabs is casting their feline eyes around the sand.
That's a 25 survival check.
Ooh. As close as the cat can tell, this is moments after you last left. So because you were not here too long this last time compared to the first time when you did a whole walk around of the building and carefully explored, the side wing and then into the whole, like your footprints are probably still there, just being like barely starting to be scoured away by the wind and the sand. It seems as though as far as this place is concerned, this is just one continuous you booping in, dying, disappearing, booping right back in, even though a week or a day has passed for you in the waking world. It seems to be a continuous story being told of this span of time at the Forsaken Caravanserai. All right, so you have those entry doors, you have the second level room above the rubble pile visible to you. What's the plan this time?
Dora, you wanted to go up that rubble pile?
Yes, I think that's where we should go.
Before anything happens,
Yeah.
Vic cracks a whole lot of extracts.
Oh, tell me about it.
He drinks Blend, Expeditious Retreat, Monkey Fish, Tears to Wine, Fox's Cunning, Dark Vision, See Invisibility. And then the last thing that he takes is Detect Thoughts. So now when he moves at the same speed as everybody else, but he's blending all the time. And he is detecting thoughts.
Yeah. What about dabs? Any spells? Slate skin?
Yes, absolutely. Slate skin.
Mage armor.
Mage armor for Dora.
Do you need the see invisibility extract when you have the gem?
I give the gem back to you.
If you're going to scout,
Okay, then
please.
I mean, I still have to hold it up to my eye. I'd rather just...
So you got it on your person. You're moving slowly so that you can maintain concentration on detect thoughts so that you always know presence or absence of thoughts if you get within range of them. And then if you want to, from that point, start concentrating to learn more about it. Okay, great. Are we going inside or are we going up the rubble pile in the northeast corner?
I'm going right up the rubble pile.
You're going alone, yeah? Where do you want us?
Where do you want to be?
It would be very easy for you to wait at the bottom of the rubble pile and keep eyes on him until he got deep enough into the room. He could at least get up and see what he saw and stay within sight of you, and then he would have a choice to make. Why don't you move your tokens over there?
Yep. My skills right now are awesome.
Through the roof.
So good.
Sweet.
All right. So Vic has monkeyfish going, right?
Yep.
So he has a climb speed. He clambers easily up this rubble pile and up onto the second story of the Forsaken Caravanserai. You see before you, Johnny, a long, deserted, rubble-strewn passage that looks as though it maybe never actually had a ceiling. It was a little hard to tell from the ground. It looks as though at one point this was probably a nice, open balcony space that maybe had, because there's like wooden posts on each side that probably you're able to string fabric over to kind of shade you from the sun, and because it's a nice long open space, probably had nice breezes blowing through it. There's even the lingering, you know how downstairs inside the caravanserai the environmental affecting spells were still kind of mostly working. They seem to be a little more sputtering out up here, so it's fucking hot but survivable. Like you have a feeling like you could hang out here for a half hour and not die
Take
of heat
damage,
stroke.
right.
Exactly. The only real thing of interest as you first get view of this space is 10, 20, 30, 40, about 50 feet away from you at the south end of this space. There is a high quality wooden door which is closed and sealed up, which seems to lead into what is probably this square-shaped room at the southeast corner of the building that seems to still be stable. At this moment where you are, right at the top there, you can see the party, they can see you. If you go about 10 feet in, you're going to be out of their view.
Got it.
He leaves your view, everybody.
As I'm walking along, I'm actively perceiving, checking for traps, doing all the stuff.
I will take a perception check.
Oh man, that's a 31 or 35 for traps. And am I detecting any thoughts?
As you pass about halfway down the length of this room, you do start to pick up the presence of a thinking mind within range of your spell on the other side of that door.
I stop dead still.
Yep.
And just hang out, continuing to detect thoughts.
6 seconds later, you know that you're dealing with one thinking mind with an intelligence score of 18.
I'm going to continue to move forward to see if I catch anybody else, but I'm going to move off to the side so that I'm not directly in front of the door.
As you're moving your cone around, these walls are thick enough that your spell does not go through it, but the door is not blocking it. So you can't really get a bead on the inside corners on the other side of this wall. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But you can get a pretty good bead on most of the rest of the inside of that room.
Okay.
As far as you can tell, only one mine. I'm going to make a will save here. 30.
Yeah, that beats my DC.
You aren't able to read the surface thoughts, but you know that 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, you're standing in front of the door right now, this finely made wooden door. 25 feet ahead of you is this thinking mind of a highly intelligent creature.
Does the door have a keyhole? Does it have any method of looking through it?
It would have a keyhole.
I look through that keyhole.
You don't have a great view of the room as a whole, but you do have a perfect line of sight to this thinking being. So you can tell there is a elegant, tastefully decorated room beyond that does not seem to be crumbling and aged and the relic of eons of time. Elegant blue and yellow rug on the ground. Your eye tracks that as it leads to a fine mahogany desk across the way, which is stacked with books and papers. And there is a man seated at the desk facing you as you peer your eye through this little keyhole. He has piles of vellum open and a journal and what looks like maybe a heap of maps as well. And he's vigorously scratching with a pen into this journal. It's a man in his early 40s. There's a glint in his eye as he works of what seems to be fun and guile and like effervescent life. His hair is smooth, his beard is long and black. He's got this odd, square, four-corner hat sitting on top of his head. He's dressed magnificently in yellow, orangey yellow silken cloak, ruffled silken yellow coat, yellow silk handkerchief, all of this over a set of like a really fancy blue doublet. You are looking at Hazerton Pragmus Lowles the Fourth. And that's the end of chapter 98. We'll pick up next time. Dark Nexus is produced by Plug and Hum Productions. This podcast uses trademarks and/or copyrights owned by Paizo Incorporated, used under Paizo's fan content policy. This podcast is not published, endorsed, or specifically approved by Paizo. For more information about Paizo Inc. and Paizo products, please visit paizo.com. That's Paizo.com. Dark Nexus uses music and soundscapes by Syrinscape. Check them out at Syrinscape.com. That's Syrinscape.com. Opening and closing themes, along with additional music composed by Rob Kauzlaric. Artwork for Dark Nexus is by Matt Wahlquist. And thanks to DMCP, Richard and Ari, Paul and Shannon, Scotty, Jason, Jess, Joe, Chelsea, Matt, Dave, Derek, Darren, Michaela, J.H., the Biscuit Buddies, and everyone we've gamed with over the years for all the memories and inspiration.
Click the tab. Click the skills. Can you find skills?
Stop. Oh my God. Did you find that? Click the skills. Find the skills. Find the skills.
Are you looking on your sheet?
Are you even in
Have you
Roll20,
tried
bro?
turning it off and turning it on again?
Oh, I didn't mean to click tell me more. God damn it.